I think therapy will help a lot with that.
Trash podcast sponsored by BetterHelp.
Hello, 911. Elle has been kidnapped.
We were, for context, talking like an hour before the pod about how basically being if
we were joking about if we ever got to the point of sponsorship, we never want BetterHelp. Never.
Yeah, not you. We truly don't want you. And I was like, if I were to ever sponsor BetterHelp, take my certifications away. And Ashley was like, if you did, I would assume that you're being held hostage and this is a call for help. I had to throw it in there. We would never do that to you guys.
Not BetterHelp, at least. Now, Squarespace. Hold on, I've got to mute. Thank you for that lovely pause music. Okay.
My default.
No, it's beautiful.
And it can start.
Oh, cool. T wants us to cry even more. Good times. Also, I think we need to start counting how many times we've cried on the pod, because do
either of us want that counter? It's not a counter we want to.
I just feel like we are alarmingly reaching a scary count that is fast catching up with our episode count.
It is in the top left corner.
I didn't think I would cry in this episode. I was like, yeah, we're talking about Shinny and Noel and some other people. We're talking about, we're just going to talk about what their struggles are, their goals, their unmet needs. Yeah. Oops. Randomly crying about Alyssa at the end. Who saw that one coming? Who had... No, and that's the worst thing, okay? Because, Elle, when she cries, you can, hear, she gets a little snuffly, right? She gets a little more muffled, but, it's kind of oh, I have a cold, I can mask this. Me, I do, the full quaking and, the voice breaks, and just, everybody knows. Everybody knows. Jesus Christ! One day I will master crying without people knowing. That's a lie. It's impossible.
It's okay. We, as we've said before, we cannot fight who we are.
Yeah. I'm a Scorpio. That's kind of my thing.
The Taurus moon keeps me hidden.
Man, you would think that my Virgo moon would ground me more, but...
No, that's a mutable sign.
Also, Scorpio rising, so, that Virgo moon's just I can't fight this bitch. I'm nope, you can't.
If anyone wants to have fun astrology times, we have never really used this thread, but we do have a thread for it in general.
Yeah, we'll have to go back to it.
Woo! We have threads for things. We have places. We put things.
My Venus is a Libra, and I feel like it is very obvious. I want to see you and Elle talk about what you think her sign is, because I've never thought about it, but I can see that.
I do feel like she's an air sign.
Aquarius is air, right?
Aquarius is air. I feel she reads pretty Libra to me.
I can see Libra. She's definitely not Gemini. I can see Libra. Podcast episode Elle Astronomy
to reinvigorate. I've said this.
T, go put it into submissions.
I had a blog, guys.
T, go put it into submissions, even for birthday, because then we can talk about how they fit their sign, or how maybe they don't fit.
Looked into it. She picked their birthdays very strategically.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Actually,
somebody go drop this in submissions. T doesn't want to take credit. I think this would be really fun to do when we're kind of at the whole, like, we don't have any ideas right now, but this one sounds super fun to do. Because I think that would be fun. In the same way that, like, people love to, like, typecast, like, you know, the MBTI and stuff. I love the astrology ones just because.
And the thing is, like, we do know that this is a medium through which Kimchi looked at her characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she has said that. And, like, obviously they didn't define her characters, but she picked these things with their character in mind, you know?
Right. Because, like, listen, Shanae, Aries, we see it.
Oh, yeah.
We see it. We see our hot-headed baby girl.
It makes me, like, so upset that we only have, like, 4 characters' birthdays, truly.
Kimchi was like, I'm not going to give all of this away. This isn't, like, astrology related, but my favorite kimchi moment before the microwave there was this one Patreon stream where Kimchi, it was the first time I think I'd ever gotten her to answer a question. And, like, you know how hard it can be to get a question answered because some people will just, like, spam their questions. And I happened to ask about the house sortings because she had in one of the Kosuke's corners, she had, like, you know, given the trio's sortings. And, you know, obviously at that time, Noel was still called Youngie, and Youngie was sorted as Hufflepuff, but could be Gryffindor. And, like, I had been like, was this, like, Youngie, or, you know, does Noel have a different house? And, like, she saw it and she actually answered it. And I loved that. Because, like, it's those little things that we're like, that's the closest we get into, like, being actually in Kimchi's head. And it was just, like, such a big moment for me. Especially because, once again, like I said, sometimes people just ask questions and, like, you get your chance with Kimchi and that's the thing you ask?
And, like, she's very strategic about what she answers and how she answers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also, like, you have to phrase things a certain way to, like,
and what made me so proud
sometimes
is how she was like, that's a good question. Like, it was just like, she knew what I was doing, and she's like, good. And I did write this down. I'm checking because I wrote it down exactly, and I want to make sure I wrote it down. Or I don't want to, like, say it differently than how she said it. Where did I put it? I thought it was in the shiny notebook.
This podcast is brought to you by Ashley's Notebook distributor.
Okay, here it is. So, she stood by. Oh my god. She stood by that Youngie would still be Hufflepuff. Noel, however, would be Gryffindor or Slytherin. That Gryffindor is his true self, and Slytherin is his survival side, which is so fucking important because when it comes to house sorting, you have to acknowledge that there's a difference between who you really are and who your survival side is. And as we've talked about a lot with I Love You, that we see this with characters like Noel and Shanae both, that, like, your survival side is not always who your true self is. So for Noel, he's truly Gryffindor, but, like, you know, the Noel that we know on the surface, that, you know, the cunning stuff that we see, that's, like, his survival side, the Slytherin, but Gryffindor. Rand is a Ravenclaw. Kosuke would be Ravenclaw or Slytherin. His true self is Ravenclaw, but he too is Slytherin in his survival side. Imagine that. Yui, pure Slytherin. Pure Slytherin. Also, I've got Ritalin notes. That was a long time ago. Anyway, yeah, I had to write that one down because that was, like, so important to me. That's from a Patreon stream, but I'm pretty sure, like, she won't mind us sharing that one. But
yeah, she says that, like, the answers to questions and such, like, the tidbits we're allowed to share. Like, the real privilege is, like, getting to answer the questions and, like, not having to rely on somebody else parroting the information to you. Because, like, even if people say it, you're going to miss a lot if you
Right.
weren't actually in the stream, you know?
Right. But fortunately, like, I knew what my angle was, so I wrote those questions down, or wrote those answers down exactly. I knew what I was getting at. But that was like pre-microwave. That was like my claim to fame, was that Kimchi was like,
Pre-microwave.
oh. Um, to me, she's more Ravenclaw, just because I feel like Alyssa's, like, the things that make her more Hufflepuff to me are more like survival things, you know,
I agree.
like Ravenclaw, like the things that she prides herself on, the things that are important to her, that's all the Ravenclaw stuff. The things that would make her very Hufflepuff to me, very survival stuff.
And, like, ultimately, like, we have seen that as much as she desires to be loved and accepted, like, she really doesn't want to have to reach out to the world for it, if that makes sense. And, like, she really isn't searching for that, like, kind of, like, universal, like, social harmony so much as she has been taught to believe that the things that she prides herself on and the things that she values are incompatible with the world, and therefore she has to change herself to avoid being outcasted. Whereas, like, the as Ashley said, like, the things that she does value about herself and the things that she prides herself on, the things that she enjoys and strives towards are way more Ravenclaw nature. And I think we get a lot of that through middle school Alyssa, through, like, what she has on her wall, what her interests
Mm-hmm.
are, what excites her, and, like, what angers her. Like, I always flash back to, like, we talked about when she was yelling about K-pop and such, and, like, talking about her own interests and such with Shanae, where, like, she really, like, I definitely view her true self as the Ravenclaw and her survival self as the Hufflepuff.
And likewise, I think that's very much a case for Kosuke. I think if Kosuke was not in such a competitive environment, we would probably see him being a more artistically minded, you know, like maybe a
Oh,
little
yeah.
more creative person than he has ever been allowed to be. He's an ambitious person, but what is the reason behind his ambition, you know? Is it ambition for personal glory? No, he is ambitious because he wants daddy to love him. You know, like, to me, Slytherin is like, do you want, you know, is this personal glory? Is this, you know, like that? I remember seeing something somewhere where it's like, um, it broke the houses up, and I don't think that I necessarily completely agree with this, but, like, you know, Slytherin and Ravenclaw were both viewed as like very internal houses, and Gryffindor and Hufflepuff were external houses. And obviously in Kosuke's case, this doesn't really change because, you know, his two house options are both very internal. Um, but that's when you look at kind of like, what is the root of that motivation? Because this is my ire with the way that people like type houses, you know, is it's like, to me, you've got to look at the root. It's like, what drives a person or a character to, you know, to do the things that they want? Like, what inspires their greatness? And, like, I guess, you know, we can argue that Slytherins kind of have, like, you know, infamy and, you know, fame is also, you know, not necessarily like a personal drive, but, you know, like in Kosuke's case, I think it's very much like the difference for him is that his ambition is not for himself. It's, you know, he's trying to appease something, but like the ambition is not his. That's what makes it survival. He's trying to earn something. He's trying to reach a certain goal, but that goal isn't so much for himself as much as like so he can have that peace. I think if he had all of those needs met, he would be somebody who thrives on just like learning for the sake of learning, probably, you know, creative avenues. We know that he used to play the piano. He, you know, composition, probably loved that. more than it's ever been actually let on. And that's that other thing with Ravenclaw. It's not necessarily just intellectual pursuits. It's also creativity. Kosuke's not very much an open-minded person, but throwing it out there, that open mind.
And like I feel like we see that contrasted with Yui, who is like the Slytherin through and through, which also like ambition is
Pure,
not
true
a bad thing.
Slytherin.
But like we see that like and we talked about in the Yui episode, like she from likely a young age was ambitious and like had these desires for herself. Like she wanted these for herself. And like what drove her to the point that she's at is that she was constantly told that she can't have it no matter what she does. But that ambition and desire and drive did come from herself. And like you said, where with on the flip side, with someone like Kosuke, like the ambitions that he's pursuing are not his own.
Right. Oh, I love sorting. Like this is like I think sorting is for me what astrology is probably for you.
I think yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Because like I get so into it and like I will reject people sometimes. I'll be like, no, you're wrong. I'll be like, give me your reasoning. Let me sound it out. Defend your choices. Try and win me over. But yeah. And this episode just went places.
And we've been here for like a Yui episode length of time.
Haven't even eaten dinner yet.
Remember when these episodes were getting shorter?
Maybe next time.
I doubt it.
Elle's been pretty good with the MBTI. I don't feel like I think it's because like MBTI just has so many and I don't know them as well. Like the houses, there's 4 of them. They overlap in very specific but distinct ways. It's nice and easy for me. Astrology, we get to a point where it's like some that I feel solid about, others I'm like, I don't know about these as much. I let other people do it.
I think
there's some where I'm like, you know, when it comes to things like Virgos, Pisces, those ones I feel strongly about. I'm like, yep, that's a Virgo, that's a Pisces, because I'm just constantly like, my close friends are always Virgo or Pisces or Aquarius, weirdly enough.
the thing is, for me, all of these, they all come at things from a slightly different perspective. Like MBTI is very processing oriented, and like it's not so much values, it's not so much personality, but it's like cognitive processes and the way that you navigate through the world, where like the houses very much are like value based. And astrology is a little bit different to like compartmentalize in a word. um but like I guess I would say that it is more personality oriented. Even though I don't like that feels a little like a little more blanketed than is really accurate, but like I would probably say that where like Hogwarts houses are like values, astrology is like personality, and MBTI is like processing. So
especially because like with astrology you gotta like really get into it. You gotta be like, okay, what's your moon,
you really do.
What's your rising? Give me all of your house placements.
You've seen my resources, Ashley. That's only the tip of the iceberg too. Those were the quick guides.
But yeah, I think the fun thing about all of these is the things that they reveal. Not just like in what you are, but like how you feel about them, right? Because like my thing is, you know, as a Scorpio, I have beef with so many Scorpio stereotypes. Because like right? Like because it's all like, oh, you know, we're all like witchy and sex obsessed and blah. Okay, no, here's the one that drives me nuts, right? Okay, because one of my favorite Scorpio stereotypes is that we're like loyal as fuck and we're sensitive crybabies. Because you know what? Yeah. So why is it that you'll go and find some, weird stereotypes that are like, Scorpio, like, number one likely to have an affair? I'm like, okay, I know that you think that we're all like nymphos, but how are you going to be like, most loyal bitches, but you're also going to be like, most likely to have an affair? Get it straight, guys. Which is it?
I need to send you a post that I wrote a long time ago about me. I mean, it wasn't in a complainy tone because I wrote it like you know my writing tone. I wrote it in my like typical analytical tone, but it was literally me being like, these are the stereotypes that exist for the signs. This is why they exist, and this is why they're all wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll have to send it to you. But the thing
Please
with
do.
the thing with the Scorpio stereotypes, Scorpio gets a lot of it the worst in terms of the stereotypes. And the way that one
There's
of the
just
ways
so
that
much more to it. And, like, people are like, oh, the edginess, like, the occult, the fascination with death. I'm like...
people really oversimplify. With Scorpio, one of the things is that it is ruled by the 8th house, and the 8th house does rule the occult, but that doesn't mean that that's what Scorpio is about.
Right. Like, there's more to it, man.
And the other thing, especially with, like, the, like, sex obsession around the Scorpio sign, is that there is a correlation between like the Scorpio placement and hypersexuality, but it's coming out of a place of vulnerability and the desire and need to be vulnerable and intimate while also being afraid of being vulnerable and intimate, where physical intimacy is a way to substitute for emotional intimacy. So like there's like a self-actualization percentage tied to that, but like that's what the stereotype is coming out of, and it's such a misunderstanding of what the Scorpio sign is actually about, because it's fixed water, it's ice. Like, stop trying to make it into this like stop trying to oversimplify it and like box it in.
Not me sitting here literally making the panic face because you started talking about like emotional vulnerability, and I'm like, oh fuck, this is where we get into it. Because that's the part of Scorpio where I'm like, yep, that's it.
And
because
that is the accurate, like that is what Scorpio is. And when people like just make it out to like be all this like edgelord labels, it's like you're missing the point.
It's like, no, we are sensitive bitches who don't want you to know that we are.
That's
who
it.
Desperately want to be vulnerable, but we are fucking terrified of it. And then we're like, oh my god, guys, don't talk about my little voice quavering. We're gonna pretend that I wasn't crying, okay? Even though, like, we fully admit that we are crybabies. Like, that is my favorite Scorpio stereotype, is the fact that we are super sensitive water sign crybabies. You got, like, when you turn Scorpio into, like, these edgelord bitches, it's like, no, you're losing the essence of what Scorpios really are. Like, that's why, like, see?
And it gets me so upset. And, like, God, maybe I will clean up my old blog and link it in the server. I think you guys would all enjoy it. But like I said, I have whole posts being angry about all of this, where like it's not, like I said, it's not an angry tone, it's like a philosophical tone. But like, and the thing is, like, other water signs are stereotyped as the crybabies, and they're not. But it's Scorpio. Scorpio's the crybaby.
Which is funny because, like, okay, so my mom and sister are both Cancer, right? And, like, Cancer or... I'm trying to figure out how to say this delicately in case we have any Cancer among us. Because Cancer are sensitive too, but, like, in a very different way than, like, I find Scorpio. Like, I find... Like, my mom is that Cancer stereotype in the, like... they're gonna tell you they're fine, but they're not fine, but they're not gonna tell you why they're not fine.
No, it is a lot of the time. This is us radicalizing you.
And it's like, God, when you like, I love like posts that are like, I don't want to know like tell me your sign, but also tell me your family sign, because that's where I'm like, yeah, that is where we get really interesting.
And I think it's
I'm
like
I'm not good at guessing people's signs.
I'm good at guessing babies.
Really?
It's weird. Um
Interesting.
but the thing is like my thing is like these like you said like these are frameworks. And like my
Right.
perspective, like these are frameworks of understanding. So like for example, like it just helps my brain to like conceptualize things through these different lenses.
Mhm.
And like it just helps me have something to latch onto and to like guide my processing.
And again, it's one of those things where it's like it reveals things both in what you feel is accurate and the things that you feel don't fit. My favorite thing about like getting like a really good astrology chart and reading how they like explain those different placements is when you're like, oh my god, this feels so fitting. Like I remember the first chart that I ever read that was probably not nearly as good as the one that you had me do, Elle, where it kind of like described that Virgo moon as having like this craving of, you know, like needing some sense of organization and feeling untethered when you don't have it. Um, in reality, in retrospect, I realized that was my ADHD. But in that moment, it illuminated something in myself that was true, which was I do crave a sense of organization. And when I don't have it, completely untethered. I'm completely unmoored without it. Like I said, that's clearly like my ADHD. It's, you know, but it showed something in me. It illuminated something. And that's what I think is so fun about astrology is what does what does it illuminate for you that actually is true? And what kind of things does it make stand out that maybe aren't true? Like you said with Scorpio, like there's a lot of stereotypes that are really whack. But there's a lot of like there's a lot about Scorpio that fits me like a glove.
And it's like I said, like it's just an avenue for understanding.
And that's ultimately, to me, that's what all personality tests are meant to be. They're just meant to help you see yourself in a way that maybe you hadn't been able to see before. And then you can go to your therapist and can be like, you're not going to go to your therapist and be like, so it turns out I am a Libra Venus and I just struggle so much with asserting myself because I feel like I need to yield all the time, even though you know what, turns out that's true. But it helps you learn how to talk about yourself because you read something and it immediately tells you, like you have a gut reaction that's like, is this true or is this not true? And then that helps you digest yourself and how you talk about yourself and how you talk about your feelings and why you feel the way that you do about things.
And like I always like a lot of the time people will use various personality typings as like judgments or like stagnant excuses. And it's like that's not how
Sorry, girl, I
Enneagram
didn't
understands
mean to hurt your
it.
feelings. I'm a
Yeah,
Gemini/Libra.
like they're not meant to be something that boxes you in. They're not meant to be something that like just lets you stay stagnant. They're not meant to be something that excuses you. They're meant to be something that, like you said, helps illuminate things for yourself and helps you understand and grow.
Right. Like that's that thing about like Scorpio and vulnerability. I struggle so much with it. Like I struggle to tell my closest friends if they've hurt my feelings. I struggle to tell people when I feel hurt or slighted, even people who I know are going to take it well. People who I know are going to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm never going to do that again. Thank you for letting me know. Because I get so terrified of how they're going to perceive it. Or I get terrified of having feelings and people knowing that I have feelings, despite the fact that, like, all I do is yell about my feelings. But the moment, like, I'm expressing those feelings and I have to be like, it's the vulnerable feelings, the ones that make me, feel very raw and naked. That's when like everything's everything gets bad. Listen, I'm in. Listen,
Rose
one
really
day,
just does call out.
one day I will like take the MBTI again just so that I can like show you the actual bar results because I don't think I have those saved anywhere. If I remember right, mine were some pretty strong ones. Pretty strong. To nobody's surprise. Also, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but I am one of the few people I know whose MBTI has never really changed. I have been a strong INFP since my first year of college, which was like 16, 17 years ago. So that's fun. I'm old.
This is so awkward because there's chat happening, and I'm
I'm
just
so I was just reading teas, and I'm just like, oh, damn.
yeah, and like T, that is something that irks me a lot. Where like it's such a wrong way to view this, and it's like A, that's not right, and like B, like either you're just putting your faith in something that is not supposed to have its faith put in that way, or you are just looking for an excuse. And like
Mm-hmm.
neither of those are right. And also, most places that write horoscopes are not good. Most of them don't know anything of what they're talking about.
They just like write 12 strips and they're like, here, choose which sign this goes with.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is only one source currently online that I will actually use for like horoscope interpretation. So like that, like the daily transit interpretation, and like literally every single other one that I've ever seen is like junk.
Yeah.
And it's like
My
it's not like misinterpreting something kind of junk. It's literally like not even like using the tools that they say they're using junk.
hold on, what's the okay, hold on. There's that one on what is it, astrology poet on Twitter.
I don't even know.
It's just one that people love to use. I want to like find the name before I go and like bash it. Horoscope poet? No, that's horoscope bot. Mm, there's one, but it's just so funny because like I used to read it for the funsies because again, like that's very much my thing with astrology is I love it for the funsies. But my friend finally did this like low key call out and she's like, is anybody else going to admit that like that account is just like word word what was the word she used? Not word garbage, but it was just so funny because like people will just be like, "Oh my god, this is so mean." I'm like, "These words strung together don't even mean anything."
But literally,
It's like you literally are reading into this, my friend. Literally.
and it's like that's like I mentioned, like I obviously I have spent a ton of time studying like natal chart interpretations and like that realm of astrology. I don't know a thing about horoscope interpretation, and like I don't read any of that stuff because I don't know what it means. And like if I can't interpret it and understand it for myself, why on earth am I going to trust this random string of words? Like that's part of why I said like there's only one source that I trust it from, and it's because I can track exactly how they're getting that specific interpretation from that specific transit in relation to my personal chart. Like, if you just write a string of words in some like newspaper column and tell me that it's for Pisces, first of all, you can't get a daily horoscope from just your sun sign. Like, it's just like stop taking tools that are like meant for one thing and using them in a completely like nonsensical way and then claiming that it like works. Like, please, I
I
thank you.
I think Rose should go and start an MBTI horoscope and just make bank. And she's gonna just like write daily horoscopes for the MBTIs. and it's just gonna be like word garbage, and she's just gonna be like, "Here you guys go. This is this is your horoscope based on your MBTI." Because if you can make things up for your astrology zodiac, then we're just gonna make things up for everything. You go, Rose. The compatibility, yeah. Like, okay, to some degree I find them interesting because, and like Elle just said, you can't go just based on your sun sign because like your other placements are absolutely going to affect your relationships. I do find that I have a very interesting pattern where a lot of my close friends wind up being either a Virgo, a Pisces, or an Aquarius. This obviously is not like all of my friends are going to be this. And obviously, like, if we sat down and, like, we tried to compile data, that's not going to hold true. It very much happens that a lot of my closest friends fall into these. I also happen to have a really good friend who's a Gemini. The Aquarius thing always cracks me up because, like, allegedly, like Scorpio and Aquarius aren't supposed to be not necessarily be, like the best compatibility, but like it turns out like I'm just drawn to Aquarians like a fucking moth to a flame. My husband is an Aquarius, so.
And the thing is, I feel like these honestly function very similarly to like the mirrors and foils between characters in I Love You, where like it's an avenue to see things about people and illuminate things about people that like is like it's not just this like simple like one note thing. And it's like I had like good words and I'm not. I had them
Sometimes
like
the
while
words
you were
leave.
talking. But it's like it's that like there is some of everything in everyone, and it's like the relationship between these different aspects that illuminates things and helps you understand certain like processes and avenues and like aspects of people. But it's never going like again, it's never that like, oh, like Sinead, like Alyssa just is this way, and like it's always the like how did someone like get here. And there's also like the like there are different pathways too with them. Like it's like,
Right.
especially like compatibility especially gets me because it's like every sign is compatible with every sign, and so like all share similarities with each other. It's like so much more about dynamics and the interplay between all these things, and like where these different similarities and differences lie, and like how people may pull upon or not pull upon them, than like you're an Aquarius and they're a Capricorn, and so this is how that relationship's going to be, and this is how it's going to go, and this is how you're going to be as a person. And it's like that's not how it is. Like it really like, and like now I didn't explain this parallel well at all, but like now that I'm seeing the parallel between like the personality typing kind of things and like mirrors and foils and I Love You, it really is such a similar process of thought in how they're used.
We're definitely going to do an episode where we just like astrology, and then we're gonna be like, we're gonna make a whole series out of this. I really should go eat dinner.
Yeah, it's like Hi just said, like it's about using these things to understand the person themselves rather than making the person into their type instead of an individual. And that's like the thing with like the mirrors and foils, where like it's not about like boxing in these people, but about like using these things to understand them more as whole complete people and in relation to others.
Right. And like that is very much like why I get so adamant about how like I sort houses and stuff. Because it's like it's the way, to me it's like, how are you interpreting, Um I promise I will. I will.
There's gonna be like a bonus feature, like separate.
Yeah, this Oh my god, yeah, we'll be like, here's some extra content. Trashellie After Hours.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, like everything everything from when we started talking about the houses is gonna be its own little bonus video. Also, there's no way in hell this video is going up in the morning.
Oh god,
This
no.
is going up like tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, content. Hashtag
Woo!
like.
This was fun. Like,
Been fun,
genuinely,
guys.
this was. That's why I haven't eaten yet, because I'm like, this is so much more
And
fun.
it's like we say, like we could do like a really scripted. This will be cut up prior to upload.
Yeah, this part's gonna, like, be a special.
Not everything in here will be included.
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's part of the fun of having it in the Discord. Where like it's as much a hang as it is a pod. And like, could we script something and like basically read out essays on the pod? Yeah, but that's not what we made the pod for. If we wanted to do that, we would just write an essay. Clearly, we can.
I mean, my Tumblr is there to read. Alrighty, I guess I'm going to go eat because I'm being...
Accosted.
Yes.